always difficult for me to know where to start when I have an unplanned message. So I think I'm going to start with an exhortation about spiritual warfare in the ministry. Brethren, all warfare comes out of somebody's mind. This is a mature ministry. We deal with the reality of people's mind. Now, brethren, these physical bodies are not our reality. The reality is the soul that's inside of us. The definition, as I understand it, of mental illness, if not schizophrenia, and I'm no expert in this area, is a complete lack of communication between the spiritual reality of the perceptions and the activities of the soul that's inside of us, and the perceptions and the activities of the physical body that is outside. That complete disconnect is a form of mental illness, and I cannot give you the name of the mental illness because I never even intended to say that to you when I sat down. Okay? The healthiest person is the person who has, when I say the person, the exterior person, the physical person, okay? The what you see is what you get person, the person that's on the outside, you know, the person that lines up with what I look like. Just a nice lady that said good morning to you, okay? I forgot what I started to say. And the healthiest person is the person who the outside person has a relationship with the soul that lives inside of this body. Now, it's possible for the outer man, and Paul clearly says there is an outer man and an inner man. It is possible for the outer man to have a relationship with the inner man and not be aware that that is their spiritual condition. The outer man can have a relationship with the inner man and be a healthy person and not realize that they even have an inner man. They're just a healthy person in this world. Okay? But we see the disconnect in a person that's not healthy in this world. And Jesus clearly said that I didn't come for the healthy, I came for the sick. Now, did you ever wonder what he meant when he said that? Did he come for people that had that were physically afflicted? Did he come for the people that got upper respiratory infections all the time? Did he come for the people who had polio and were crippled? That's what you all thought he came. That was what you all thought that he meant, right? Because he went out and he healed the sick, you see. But that wasn't what he meant. He meant that he came for the spiritually sick people. Spiritually sick people. And the definition of spiritual sickness is the person who is disconnected, the outer man who is disconnected in a variety of degrees, depending on how sick you are, with the reality of the soul that lives inside of them. Okay. Very frequently, when you look at people who are chronically ill, it's at least it's the result, if not partial result, if not the whole result of a conflict between the way the outer man wants to live or is living and the reality of the thoughts and emotions and intentions and motives of the soul that dwells inside of the person. Freud was the first one to discover this when he had a patient of a young woman that was paralyzed. There was nothing physically wrong with her, but she was paralyzed. And through talk therapy, by talking to her, that's what psychotherapy is, it was revealed that the woman was filled with resentment and rage towards her mother because this young lady had to give up her whole life. She gave up having suitors, she gave up getting married, she had to take care of, there were no nursing homes in those days, she had to take care of her mother. And the conflict of the rage and resentment against her mother and the inner man and the outer man, knowing that what she was doing was required of her. No nursing homes in those days, you had to take care of your parents. So she literally gave up her whole life to fulfill her obligation to her mother. And she could not resolve this. She could not, that knowledge that that's what we're supposed to do, and that that's what every decent person does. You take care of your sick mother. Okay? She could not reconcile it with the anger that she had, that her life was stolen from her. And the result was that the physical body was paralyzed. The conflict caused destruction in her life. And she was set free when the outer man communicated with the inner man and reached some kind of reconciliation. I don't know the notes of that case, but a typical example would be acceptance of oneself. Yes, I am filled with rage and resentment towards my mother, but I understand that she had no control over it, and that life is beyond this immediate life. Its life is eternal. There's an eternal soul in me, that not only do I have to do the right thing to protect myself and future generations from destruction, from the sowing and reaping judgment, but there's a part of me that desires to do the right thing and has tried to beat down this other side of me, and has failed. So I accept the fact that there's a part of me that's very, very, very sad, that I lost my youth, that I lost my opportunity to marry, but my mother didn't do it to me on purpose. But it's understandable. My rage is understandable. And now I have to forgive myself and go on and make the best of my life that I can. Okay, this is a healthy person. Brother, I used to have a lot of anger against my mother. Did I have reason to be angry against my mother? I did. Did I have enough reason to be as angry as I was against my mother? I don't know. And against my father, and against my sister. I don't know. Was my rage justified? I don't know. But today, because the Lord has healed me, you see, only I acted out. I didn't deny it. I was very angry. And therefore I was a rebellious child. I was not a good child on the outside. I was a very rebellious child. But today, thanks to the Lord Jesus Christ, I have grown up. And I understand that parents are not perfect. And that my mother's motives, my whole family's motives towards me, my parents anyway, were to do good to me. But they were limited in their understanding of what I needed, of what I required, of what God would have had them to do. But they did the best they could for me. See? And so I'm at peace. And I've forgiven both my mother and my father for what they did. That caused me a lot of trouble in my life. But I was also sick for years. You need to understand that I was sick for years. And part of that sickness, or the part of the cause of that sickness, was this very conflict in my life of a rage against my parents. It was making me sick. Inner conflict between the inner man and the outer man. Now there's different kinds of people. Some people turn inward on themselves when they have rage and they get sick. Other people turn the rage outward and blame everybody except themselves. It's different kinds of personalities, different kinds of sickness. Both of it is sickness. It's soul sickness. See? So some people hurt themselves. It's not a choice. They don't even understand what's happening. It's an unconscious choice that really has to do with the choice of the soul, how you're going to react with the conflicts in your life. Because everything about this life is conflict. Each individual is its own Sephirotic array. Each individual has its own at least two columns. We start out with two columns, a negative column and a positive column. And as we live our lives and deal with conflicts, hopefully the middle column, and the healthy person, the middle column comes into existence. The rage gets less. Okay? The weakness, that where you didn't stand up for yourself, gets stronger. And hopefully you grow up and you become a person that will stand up for themselves in a godly way, not let themselves be abused, understand everything evil that's been done to them, and not seek revenge, but understand that we're all fallen. Forgive everybody and ask God to help us have a positive life. That's the healthy person that lives out of that middle column. But some people never come to a middle column. And you don't have to understand all this to. I didn't mean to ask you to shut it off. Did it shut off? Yeah, just pull it 3 times, thank you. So, there are people that live healthy lives. This is a short one. One more. Okay, thanks. There are people that live healthy lives that don't understand any of this. They live like this because they're under the influence, they're under the spiritual influence of the family line blessings or curses that they've inherited. But whether you understand it or not, this is the reality of the human condition. We are fallen. Everybody is born with a left column, the potential to do evil. I wish that I had more details to tell you, but I don't. Does a newborn infant have anything on the right column at all? Maybe not. Maybe the newborn infant has no right column at all. They just have a left column. And as the child is civilized, and that's the right word, civilized, because children are not civilized. Children are not civilized. You need to read The Lord of the Flies if you haven't already read it. So as we civilize our children, they develop a right column that resists the left column, that resists the desire to kill their baby brother because they're so jealous. And it is truly a murderous jealousy towards a new sibling in the household. It can be, it doesn't have to be. So they develop, the parent builds the right column into the child. And then when the right column appears, as we have overcoming, and we have experiences that we overcome according to the guidelines of God, the middle column comes into existence. What guidelines of God? We know that we have to forgive people to go on. We know that we have to make it work. You can't do anything you want. Well, you can, but there will be consequences in this life. So this is the reality of our condition, brethren. There's a soul inside of us. Sometimes the soul is very evil, and sometimes it's less evil. That also is the fruit of the sowing and reaping judgment on our family line. What we're born with, the soul that we're born with, how evil it is, because it is a fallen soul. So depending on the sowing and reaping, the good and evil deeds done by the family, or your parents and the whole family line, your ancestors, the soul that you're born with is either good or evil or somewhere in between. There's no perfectly good soul. That a soul that will incarnate this body is a fallen soul. Some are kinder than others. Some are more evil than others. And that's the truth of our reality. See? And that most people don't know that their soul, that their life is run by their invisible soul. That we really don't, the outer man does not run their own life. How could you say that, Sheila? Because the soul, the inner man that you cannot see, is the one that controls your preferences. Well, you could have married that man or that man or that woman, and you marry the woman that winds up destroying your life. How did you make such a bad decision? The soul inside of you attracted you to that woman. Why are you attracted to that woman and not that woman? Why are you attracted to that friend and not that friend? Why are you attracted to that career and not that career? Because the soul inside of you is your motives. And the outer man doesn't have any motives of its own other than to eat, drink, have sex, be merry, and live the outer carnal life of the flesh. And that is the truth of your condition. So to have the best life We need to have the soul, we need to get a soul that comes from God, an additional soul to the soul that we're born with. We need to get a righteous soul that comes from God that will influence our preferences. And then we can't go wrong. Brother, I have changed. I have done a 100. I was dying when the Lord called me. There was something very wrong with my preferences. I've done a 180-degree change of what I prefer in life, who I like to hang out with. Even my choice of furniture, everything has changed because of the soul that dwells in me. Now, brethren, if you can't understand that, you're just really not ready to go on to God. You know, we talk about a foundation, that we're building a foundation. Paul talks about a foundation, and a building has to be built out of that foundation. And those of us that study Kabbalah understand that the building that's built is the spiritual building that connects the spiritual world inside of us with the highest spiritual world of God, which eventually, as the process continues, will result in our return to immortality. We're building a structure that hopefully will equip us to attach ourselves to immortality. So when you talk about a foundation, well, that's very nice. Oh, Jesus is the best foundation. That's the only foundation that's ever been laid. Well, what does that mean? How do you know if you have the foundation? Or you speak in tongues? No, that's not the foundation. The foundation is your character. And you don't have a good character without understanding. If you don't have understanding, you're like a brute beast. If you do not understand that there is a beast in you, that you were born with a left column, that is a murderer. His name is Cain, a murderer from the beginning, capable of every evil deed. If you don't understand that you, the outer man, you are obliged to police and control the inner man that is evil. In most cases, you won't be able to do that unless somebody helps you. When you're a child, your parents are supposed to help you. That's why people who are abused by their parents are usually ruined for life. I mean, they may make a life for themselves in this world, but they're messed up. If you're incested by your parent, if you're betrayed by the person that's supposed to be nurturing you and teaching you how to survive in this world, you are a messed up person. And you may function in this world. You may stay out of jail. You may manage to get married and have children and live a life, but you're messed up. And it will show. It will leak out somehow. So it's all about the soul, brethren. And it's really interesting because I had no idea I was going to be telling you all this, and it's really connecting to what we're learning about Gilgamesh. Who knows, maybe this is going to be Gilgamesh. How do I know what this is going to be? Because what I just did was describe the relationship between Gilgamesh and Enkidu. Gilgamesh being the left column, the evil soul. And Enkidu, who was sent to be his complement, to be his mirror image, is the right column. But the right column was too weak to control the left column. And Enkidu died, and the evil continued. In one version, in another version, he dies. But the evil destroyed the right column that was sent to save him. So this is our condition. We need Jesus. We need the help meet, the help that's meet for our needs, the help that's sufficient for our need. What is that? A help that will join with our right column, that will make it stronger than our left column. That's what the help that Jehovah ordained for Adam is. A soul from the God world that will strengthen our right column so that we can control and contain our left column. I'll just say one more thing about Enkidu. We didn't get to this part of the poem yet, but Enkidu is completely seduced by Gilgamesh at one point. Enkidu is noble. Enkidu is fine. Enkidu is the weak right column. Enkidu interprets dreams. He's beautiful. And he begs Gilgamesh to not kill the guardian to the cedar forest. And Gilgamesh taunts Enkidu and says, oh, you're just a coward, you're just this, you're just that. And he convinces Enkidu to go along with the hunt, to hunt down and destroy the guardian of the cedar forest. And this is the last thing I'm going to say about it, because this message is not Enkidu. This message is not Gilgamesh. And when the actual battle starts, Enkidu, who has been seduced to go along with the soul that he's supposed to be controlling, is more vicious than Gilgamesh himself. Gilgamesh says, oh, I think I'm going to stop. I think this has gone far enough. I think I better stop. And Enkidu says, no, kill him. Pull out the sword. Kill him. The noble soul, the noble right column that came to restrain the left column, was so seduced that he became a greater murderer than Gilgamesh, for which sin he died. What does that mean? Brother, when you're incarnated in this world for a specific purpose, and you not only do not fulfill that purpose, but you become the exact opposite of that purpose, there's no reason for you to be in this world. And you are removed. So do you belong in this ministry? Who's ever listening to me? I don't know, maybe you're listening to me from the internet. I don't know. Are you a baby or are you a grown-up? Are you willing to face the truth that every human being has the power to do great destruction to others while never admitting it to themselves, while never understanding it, while never believing it, that their anger and their rage and the emotions that are raging through them are wreaking havoc in other people's lives? And that very same person that's bringing destruction into the lives of multiple people that did absolutely nothing to harm them, that very same person stands up and says of someone like me, there's something really wrong with your ministry, that you would throw back a curse. This is Jesus. This is love. We're supposed to love each other. I just can't do what you do. I just can't throw back curses. That is wrong. And the whole time, the soul inside of her, that she has no relationship with at all, is sending poison arrows and wreaking destruction on the people that she believes have wronged her. So who are you, brethren? Can you hear this? Can you hear this message? If not, if the water's too hot, you should get out now. The church, brethren, is in la-la land about what it means to be Israel. The church is Israel. The church is the Israel of God. The church and the Jews that have the soul of God are the Israel of God. But I don't know that much about the Jews. There are many factions in the Jews, just like there are many factions in the church. But the church is in la-la land about what it means to be Israel, especially the people in the charismatic movement. Complete la-la land, that they think if they do good works and act pious on the outside, that they're automatically clean on the inside. But you're not clean on the inside, brethren. And I am not clean on the inside, brethren, until we are cleaned. And this may come as a shock to you, but the one that does the cleaning is you. You have to clean yourself. And if you're not cleaning yourself, the powers and principalities of the dark world in you are reigning through you, harming whatever, whoever, and whatever they want to do. And you will pay the price for it. You are not innocent. You are not innocent. When disaster strikes you, you are not innocent. It's the fruit of the sin of your soul that your right side has not succeeded in restraining. And in many instances, is not even aware of that the sin was committed. That's why you die. That's why you get sick. That's why you get robbed and lose money. That's why your house is burnt down. That's why you have to sell something and you can't sell it and you're losing money every month. Because there is a spiritual force that is against you. The old world knew all about this, but we're so educated in this Western world today. And by and large the Western world, but even the third world that knows all about this, the people that tend to get educated start to reject it. Because the only wisdom is that which comes out of Karl Marx, which is the social sciences. So none of this stuff is true. And the more you believe that, the more Satan within you has full reign to do whatever damage he wants to do. But then there are two courses of action to try to defend the people that are being decimated by the unrestrained soul of a person who was completely cut off from the reality of that which exists in the midst of them. The first attempt is to reason with them and tell them what's going on. If that fails, the only thing left to stop them is to hurt them. Either you hurt them or the person that they're hurting continues to get hurt or gets worse. They have to be stopped. So it becomes legal for the people of God to throw back curses when their motive is to restrain this person that is out of control. If your motive is vengeance, you have no legal right to be throwing back curses. If your motive is retaliation or punishment or a desire to hurt the other person for any reason, you better put that weapon down because you do not have a license to use it. You don't have a pistol license yet, or a rifle license. If your motive is to stop an out-of-control person that's wreaking havoc through a whole ministry, you not only have the right to send back those curses, you better do it, because if you don't, you have to answer to God for every person that's sick and that is hurt, that you are not defending, that you are standing there and watching the warfare and saying, well, what am I supposed to do? You are the person standing by watching the bully beat up the kid in the schoolyard. You are the person watching the bully beat up the kid in the schoolyard saying, I won't intervene because the school says zero tolerance for violence. And this kid was a few months ago, the kid was a crippled kid. And the bully was beating him up. And the guy on the football team, the captain of the football team, the hero, came and beat up the bully and he got thrown out of school. The captain of the football team got thrown out of school. Brother, the society we're living in is sick. And it's not just sick in the outer man, it's sick in the inner man. It's sick. An evil soul has taken authority over the kingdoms, or many of the kingdoms of this world. What does that mean? Satan offered Jesus the kingdoms of this world. It means the right to dwell in them, to think through them, to reason through them, to speak through them, to do through them, and to affect and mold the entire culture that this wicked spirit is dwelling in. So who are you? Are you Behemoth? Are you this spiritual infant that has no idea what's going on in this world? Are you a Christian or a Jew that names the name? You name the name of God, you name the name of Jesus, you think you're a king's kid, you think you're such a hotshot, but you don't believe any of this stuff? The judgment on you will be greater once you've heard it, if you reject it. Taking all the blessings of God, you think that salvation is just to make you feel good? So we throw back curses here when those curses are manifesting, when those curses are arrows and weapons of mass destruction, attacking the souls of the people of this ministry, causing their physical persons to become ill. Oh, you don't believe it's a person, it's just Satan out there somewhere. You don't belong in this ministry. If you've been sitting under this teaching for all these years and you refuse to impute blame or responsibility in these circumstances, you don't belong here. And the Lord has removed you and you're not here anymore. But your rage is doing a lot of damage here. So brethren, political correctness is destroying the Western world. And political correctness exists for the outer man, and it exists for the inner man, or the world of the soul. This is political correctness. To say, oh, Jesus only loves, 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 loves. And these curses just come, they come from witches or spirits out there or something. No one's ever responsible for anything like this. And even if they are, there's nothing for me to do but love them. That is a political correct mentality that refuses to see reality for what it is. It is a form of mental illness. And the Western world, and whoever else thinks like the Western world today, is mentally ill.